Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Charlie Mike, hosted by me, Mike Buchanan. Today, we're going to have Megan Heil on to talk about... Hold on. Listen, I had to write this down. This is a lot, okay? So I'm going to read this verbatim. Is that okay? Uh-huh. Okay, perfect. Okay, so she is the North Texas Regional Manager for Texas Veterans Network, powered by Combined Arms.
You did it.
Did everybody get it? Did I do it right?
You did it.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I know it's a lot, but I know I wanted to get it specific.
Yes.
Okay, all right, because there's a reason for that. Are you going to explain it to us?
I'm going to explain.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, so let's just thank you so much for being on. I really do appreciate it. I think that what you do and the organization that you work for, and I know kind of a little bit about, the Texas Veterans Network, and I think that it's super important to veterans because I guess I consider it almost like a one-stop shop, kind of like exactly. Online, like a virtual one-stop shop. And I like that it has like a certain level of what's the word I'm looking for? A certain level of you have to follow up, right? So like accountability. There it is. Okay, yeah, has a certain level of accountability to it, and I think that I just love that, right? Because and then you can kind of like siphon like which organizations are awesome, which ones just kind of are not. Let's just say it the nice way. So let's just start it out by just who are you? And what do you, well, I already said what you do, but you can elaborate on that if you'd like. And then we'll get into kind of like what is Texas Veterans Network?
Certainly. Right. So also thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here. But I am Megan Heil, the North Texas Regional Manager, and I've worked in the veteran space for about 6 years now. Started in the SSVF program, so the Veterans Housing Program, with another organization over in Fort Worth, and then moved on from there. So firsthand experience with military culture is I was a military kid my whole life. My father was a career Marine, retired after 26 years. I did the coast-to-coast, base-to-base life as a kid, and so that's my why. I have 2 active duty brothers right now as well, both Marines, so a little partial to that. But that's my background, that's my why. And then here to talk about Texas Veterans Network, who we are, what we do, to create awareness. And like you said, it's a one-stop shop for resources. So we connect veterans and their family members to the best-in-class resources all over Texas.
Yeah, well said. I just have to know, does your family have like stock in Crayola?
Can't go anywhere without that joke.
I know you can't. No, if you have a whole entire family of Marines, you always have to ask that.
I guess
you never know. Did you also see the new crayons that they just came out with? They're like scented like candy. Did you see that? Yeah, there's like one that's like, do that? I don't know. There's one that's like scented like Sour Patch Kids, and there's another one that's like Laffy Taffy.
Yeah,
it's a real thing. I've seen pictures of it circulating. Yeah. I've seen pictures of it on Veterans Network circulating. If you haven't seen it, go find it and send it to your closest Marine buddy. It's super funny, the reaction that you'll get. Yeah. All right. So what is the Texas Veterans Network?
Okay. So we are a program, a statewide program, where we have a website and 2 coordination centers that connects veterans and their family members to resources. This program was developed by Combined Arms and picked up by the state. So we are primarily funded by the Texas Workforce Commission. They put out an initiative a few years ago that they wanted to be the first state that had a fully integrated resource system that could be backed up with data and tracking, that could be intuitive for tech-savvy veterans to navigate, but also the coordination centers that had the personal touch and could help people out at the same time. So the Combined Arms has the technology behind this, and then also the methodology with our coordination centers and our intake team members, how they're trained, how they holistically serve the veteran. And then it started 2 years ago, April 2020, where we had to roll this out.
Awful time to start a program.
It was terrible timing. Roll it out with branding, everything. You're trying to get your name out there with organizations and get in front of veterans. How do you do that when we were virtual and we couldn't be around people? Yeah. So needless to say, we're 2 years in now. We're moving right along at a much faster pace now that we're able to be back in person with most people and a lot of community events. So our main thing is doing stuff like this to create that brand awareness, let people know that there is a network out there that can holistically serve the veteran and make sure they don't fall through the cracks, connect them to the resources that are needed, and then we have data to back that up.
Yeah. Well said. You've done this a lot, huh? I guess there's a reason why you have the job that you have.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's good. No, it's a really cool network. You know, I know that there's some VAs that are starting to take part in it, which is good. Yes. I know that ours is a little hesitant, which is fine. We're huge. There is a reason for hesitance, right? Yeah. There's a huge accountability piece, and I think that we're just kind of working on whatever we can work on right now, which is a lot already.
Certainly.
So yeah. I don't think that they really just want another problem in the chute, if you get my drift, right?
Definitely.
Because if they notice it, they're like, are we ready for that? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I guarantee they have that conversation. I guarantee I guess other companies would probably have that conversation as well, right?
Yes.
Because I'm sure you've gone to some and they're like, oh, I don't know.
Correct, right? Something new and shiny is not always great, right? Sometimes it's just new and shiny.
Sure.
But the good thing about this is Combined Arms was already doing this in Houston for years before it became a statewide program and implementing it elsewhere. So it already had the data to back that up, which I believe is why the Workforce Commission chose to give the grant to Combined Arms. But it is true that sometimes we approach organizations about working with us and they're like, what's the catch? Or that's another website that my employees have to log into. And we're like, we get it. We know. However, there is no catch. We're fully funded. So there's none of that. But we're reaching out to the best organizations all over the state who are serving veterans, giving direct client services, and are doing it well. We vet them, and so they have every right to vet us back, right? Yeah. They have every right to look into us, ask us the hard questions, what is needed from them. And really, we are, what makes us attractive is for their frontline employees, their boots on the ground employees, like many VA employees. Yeah. Y'all are in front of the veterans daily, and each person in each department does just that in that department. But when they're listening to the veteran, they're hearing about all these other needs that they have. And generally, being in social services and why we do what we do, we want to help them. But do we have the time and capacity when that's not really their role and they're going to spend a few hours trying to help this veteran out? When in reality, if they use our simple technology, which we get people set up as a community connector is what we call them, and they log in through our app or website, they send us the veteran through the system with basic information, and then we take it from there for what was their resource needs. So that employee at that particular organization can keep moving on with their appointment, their stability plan, whatever it is, but they know that they sent the veteran back to us, connected them to the resources that they needed that were outside of their wheelhouse.
It's actually pretty, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good idea. What kind of basic information?
So we ask for first name, last name, phone number, email address, zip code. The zip code is very important because our technology is geographically mapped. So all of the resources that are built in our system have counties and zip codes attached to them because, as you know, and probably many VA employees listening know, there are so many grants out there that have different eligibility requirements, cover different counties, cover different discharge statuses, things like that. So we have to have all of that mapped in our technology system so that a veteran gets matched to the right resource the first time. So everything is built in on the back end, but what we need for that initial information is the zip code. And then there's an area to put in what their actual need is that day. And then depending on what it is, it either goes to the intake team, because if it's financial assistance or homeless assistance, the intake team is the experts. They know all the information about it, and they take on the client from there. If there's other needs, such as mental health, legal, employment, we do a ton of employment services. We have great, well-rounded employment programs, but they can directly connect to other organizations within the system, and they don't even have to go through the intake team. So there's various options.
Yeah, it's pretty good though. I think that honestly, any resource that's easily available to, especially like VA employees or it might be anybody else, right? I mean, you think of any other company, I think is definitely worth looking into, I guess. So all they do is they just go online and they sign up as a community what?
Community connector.
Community connector.
So if anybody wants to be a community connector that's listening, you reach out to me. We have a specific registration link for our community connectors. You watch a quick training video. You sign the terms, our terms of agreement, that you're not going to utilize your veterans' information for anything that you shouldn't use it for. And then you're sending us that veteran, and we send you an email that gets you a login access. And then if you ever need one-on-one training, we do that virtually, really easy. If there's a whole group, I like to come in person, and I do a whole group at one time. So we're out there. We're out there trying to gain our army of community connectors. We're out there at community events trying to get in front of veterans. We're at major companies who have veteran groups within their organizations. We present to them. We're presenting to police departments, just getting our name out there, brand awareness.
Great. So let's get in, because that was one of my questions anyway, the veteran connectors. It was just down the list. So
no worries.
That's okay. So let's ask this. So how does a veteran get connected to the services?
Great question. We have multiple doors. So following along with the no wrong door approach. So the main way is our website, where the more tech savvy can create their own profile, put in all their information, take some assessments, and they can connect directly to resources that are available, because it'll be based on their area. It'll be based on everything they filled out in their profile, military history, things like that. And it'll show them what's available. So website, creating their own profile. Also on the website is a quick form. Maybe they don't have the time to create their own profile right then, and they feel like they're in a bit more of a stressful situation. There's a quick form on the website as well, big orange button in the middle of the page, and then they put in some of their basic information, and it goes right to the intake team in that instance, so that the intake team member can reach out to them and take them on. We have a phone number as well, and that they can be, the phone number goes to one of our 2 coordination centers. So our main coordination center is in headquarters down in Houston, and then we have the North Texas one. We've literally divided the state in half, and so North Texas team covers north of Waco, and headquarters team covers south and out to El Paso. So again, geographically mapped, and the intake teams go from there. And then we have our community connectors. So anybody that has access to the app, because they've registered, we've given them a login and password, they send us those referrals. So you're out in the community. How many times are you out to dinner and your server happens to be a veteran because you noticed the tattoo, you noticed the haircut, you noticed something they said, and I can't help myself, and I'll be like, "Are you a veteran?" They're like, "Yeah." And then I start talking to them.
How dare you profile?
I do. I've been around it my whole life, but you do, right?
Yeah, you do.
And you're out there. Lowe's, they're wearing the camo vest, the employees. The veteran employees wear the camo vest to set them apart. If I'm in Lowe's, I'm going to ask them, how you doing? You doing okay? Do you need anything? What else do you need? How's your VA experience? Like, honestly, because many times, some of them are like, "Oh, I never enrolled. And we talk about that. We talk about the importance in the aisle, in Lowe's, just the importance of enrolling. And then it starts the conversation. So those are the community connectors that can use our app.
Awesome. So that's really what it boils down to is that veterans have absolutely no excuse not to use your service.
Right.
Because you're literally everywhere. Like there's a way to get to you.
There is a way to
1,000 different ways
to us. The key is the brand awareness. They may not know about us because we're only 2 years old. North Texas is massive. Texas is massive. So we're doing these efforts in our various regions all across the state, right? To create that brand awareness, to put out there, we are here. This does exist. A true one-stop shop for their needs. And they may say, "Oh, I'm sure there's no help for that. I'm sure there isn't." But you know what? What does it hurt to reach out to ask us? Because there might be.
Yeah, it's a lot better than what I used to use. Back in the day, before we had the Texas Veterans Network and Combined Arms and whatnot, we used to use a site called Aunt Bertha.
It still exists.
I know, right?
It's still there.
I used to use that site all the time, and I think most social workers or anyone in the social services will most likely be aware of that website. Yes. Like, we used to use it all the time because it was kind of the same thing, right? Where you would plug in like your zip code, and it would come up with all these services that were around you or whatever.
And it's there. It still exists, and it is for all social services, right? So multiple people can. Whereas ours is just, it's veteran specific.
Sure. I just think that it's just great. I mean, like it was always such a lifesaver, right? Yes. I mean, it was always such a lifesaver when I didn't know something or a veteran needed something or a regular person needed something. And I'd be like, yeah, just go to Aunt Bertha. And they're like, what? Right. So it's kind of like, it's kind of similar, but for veterans. And I don't know. I know that how much that site was a lifesaver for me working in the job and giving information to veterans and how many veterans it helped back then. And so I can only imagine how many veterans TVN is going to help. Can I call it TVN?
Oh, yes. We call it TVN for short. Okay. We even have a Facebook group.
Oh.
Yeah. It's Texas Veterans Network, TVN, North Texas Facebook group.
Okay.
So it's specific to North Texas, but all of our partner organizations are on there. Veterans in North Texas are on there, and we share our resources on there.
She was like, yeah.
TVN.
Of course we do.
It's much easier. TVN.
All right, good. All right, TVN. Awesome. So let's talk about this. How does TVN help, I guess, organizations that are a part of it, right? Because I know that we talked about why an organization would be, I guess, apprehensive, kind of like ours, but that's a whole nother story. But why would it be good for an organization to kind of be a part of TVN?
What value are we bringing them?
Yes.
So definitely.
What can you do for them?
Correct.
Yes.
The first part of the value is helping that frontline employee holistically serve the veteran by not bogging their time down to try to search for resources that are out of their wheelhouse, and they can send them to us and we take it on. So that frees up a lot of their time to keep doing what they do really well with that veteran who's in front of them. Number two, many of our veteran serving organizations are grant funded. And so how do you get money? Data. You have to have data to submit for and request for more money or continued funding, things of that nature. So our technology allows for a lot of different reporting capabilities. And so when organizations come to us and they're like, hey, I have a grant renewal, any chance you can send us some data on this county, this area, this type of veteran or veteran group, and so that we can support our renewal application? Yes, we can. Can you offer us a letter of support since we are one of your partner organizations? Can you do a letter of support on our behalf? Yes. Other ways is we want to help you with any events that you have. So we like to collaborate with our organizations on events. If they want us to partner, co-host, email blast, so that's an added value of being an actual member, is we want to partner with you and help you do whatever your specialty is, whatever event you might be doing. Let us help support you in that way, because we may not host as many of our own events unless we feel there's a need. We want to partner with the other organizations who they put on their events and how can we help support them. And then we also volunteer and give back. So our whole North Texas team, as well as the team down in Houston, our Central Texas team, we volunteer back within the community and for our organizations. So we do that as well. And we put on whatever their shirts are at the event and we are helping out. So different value. It's all about the collaboration. We want to get away from the service and silos model where we can do more together than separate.
That's smart. It's really smart. I just talked about that yesterday at an event where I kind of told people no matter how good of an organization you feel like you are, you're probably not. I mean, like in some aspects, better. Yes, in some aspects, right? Like you're gonna fall short, and you can't do everything the best, And I always tell organizations that act like that, I'm like, you are destined for failure.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. I know it's brutal, but it's honest.
You need to be able to take the feedback too. And so something in our vetting process with the organizations, because we don't onboard every organization that says they serve veterans, But a value that we add is while we're doing our due diligence, if we find some things that we feel they could improve upon, something on their website, are their board members listed, readily available? Is their EIN number listed and readily available? Are their financials listed? Those are simple things on their website that helps an organization seem transparent and open. We want to give them those suggestions. We look into financial records too. So if there's some feedback we can give to help them improve, we will if it's well received. But that's the thing of how can we help you also keep being the best at what you're doing?
Yeah, and how can he help you stay away from the people you shouldn't be involved with?
Correct.
Yeah. Yes.
There was a study done. I think it was like 2015 or 2016, how many veteran serving organizations, nonprofits, were registered in the DFW area. It was like 600.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean at all we're onboarding 600 orgs or that all 600 of those are actually doing what they say they do.
Oh, no. I've met with a couple. I mean, I've met with a lot more than a couple, I guess. And one person, I'll always remember this. And if they're out there, shame on you. But I'll always remember this. I went to go meet with this one guy who was like, yeah, we help homeless veterans and we're this church organization. And he ran this tiny little church up off 75. And so I went to go meet with him one day. And he was like, yeah, so we haven't really done it very much. And I was like, okay, how much is not much? And they're like, oh, well, I mean, we've helped like 10 veterans. And I'm like, in how many years? We're like 5 years. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like, you're not gonna be able to handle like the caseload that like we could potentially give you. So like, that's a red flag, right? Cause like you don't want to onboard somebody as like a partner if they can't handle the load that you could possibly give them. So I'm like, okay, that's a red flag. And then I was like, yeah, well, maybe we should just keep talking about this maybe later, but this isn't kind of for us right now or whatever. And he was like, you need me. And I was like, what? Like, what?
Well, we need, organizations who are serving the community really well? Yeah. Yes, we do. Do we need passionate people? Yes, we do. However, now that we're here because a part of Combined Arms, we have a Combined Arms Institute. That's another program we have where we literally help newer nonprofits, newer veteran serving nonprofits or struggling nonprofits get better. And they can take different courses, different webinars, things like that to help improve their processes. So we're not just connecting veterans and their families to resources, we're connecting our organizations to resources also who may have a wonderful concept but need help with the follow through.
Yeah, let's call it that. You say things so much nicer than I do. Lucky for TVN. Lucky for TVN. The VA is like, oh, I wish you would just get smarter. Right? Man, I wish his language would just get smarter.
But they still let you do this podcast.
I know. I just try to be transparent and honest, and I try to speak in layman terms, right? Without sounding too smart. I'm not terribly too smart, so it's okay. I don't have to try very hard and not be smart. So let's talk about this, because this is a big deal for me. What kind of services do you have for spouses?
Okay, so we definitely have many services for spouses. And when I say we, it's resources in our system. So there are many organizations that are partners or member orgs that have resources for the spouses. And this is also for surviving spouses as well as current active spouses. So employment opportunities is huge right now. So many of our veteran-specific employment providers are offering all of their services to spouses. Resume building, interview skills, certifications, attire, helping with LinkedIn profiles, things like that. And then we do have financial assistance organizations that can help surviving spouses as well. Education benefits can transfer to spouses and dependent children. So we, Military Spouse Network, also is one of our, member organizations. And so they do a lot of socials and coffees and things like that to get the spouses connected, right? Because they transitioned out too. They went from a community to civilian also. So it's very important so that they can succeed as a whole family in their new community.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent on it because I know like my wife went through absolute hell while I was in service, and then even after service, right? So I just know like it's super important, right, to have those kinds of services, and most people don't, right? Like most nonprofits that are veteran focused are all focused on post 9/11 veterans because we're the easiest to pick from because we served a war, right? Well, so did other people, but we're just the ones that pay the most. I mean, if you really think about it, right? I mean, I know that that's crass to say that, but it's true, right? We're the ones that are most on people's minds.
It's a simple focus.
Yeah, it is.
It's a simple
focus. It is. So most people focus on post 9/11 veterans and just the veterans, which is such a disservice, right? Because like if I hate when people say that they're holistically helping us as veterans when you're not holistically helping me, right? Like even the VA does that. And I even said something about it when they were on, like the whole health was on here. And I even said like, are you really holistic? Because like you don't treat spouses, like you don't help my family. So like you're not holistic.
Or the children,
right? So, like that's a huge part of my life. So like if you're not treating my spouse or my children, like, or my family or whoever I identify as my family, because it could be I living with my parents or I could be living with my grandparents or.
And that's exactly why we say all the time till we're blue in the face. We connect veterans and their families to the resources. That includes the caretakers, whether it's VA approved caretaker or their identified caretaker, dependents. And it's not to say that we might find a resource that's specific to that person. We're going to do our darndest to try, but we're going to help them. Like that's where Texas Veterans Network serves the whole family, and we will work to find a resource that best fits their need. This also includes National Guard and reservist as well. So we help them find resources because there's limited resources for those groups as well.
I won't comment. I'm trying to be nice today.
Again, like it's about what is out there, what can be applied for. So we also encourage organizations when they come up for these grant renewals, we're like, expand your request in these grants, expand it to include reservists or National Guard that may have only been state activated and not federally. They're still serving, They're still serving. So we encourage other organizations to open up their eligibility requirements. Just like you said, maybe not just post 9/11. We've got decades before and wars before that we are still serving those clients.
Sure.
And a new program Combined Arms just started is our SIV and Ally program, which that's going to be huge for us.
What's that?
The SIV and Ally program.
What is the SIV and Ally program?
So SIV is someone here on a special immigrant visa.
Okay.
So such as your interpreters when you were overseas.
Okay.
And they fought alongside you, which then they could not stay in their country safely, nor could their families. So they apply for a special immigrant visa to come over. And resettle in the U.S.
Which I know a lot of my Terps that I was deployed with have.
Yes. So it is our SIV and Ally program. So there are we have refugee resettlement agencies all over the nation, and they accept the SIVs and Allies when they come over. However, there's a limited time that they can assist them. Well, when events happened late summer, there was a high need for serving this community. And these service members, they were service members. They just weren't U.S. service members, but they fought alongside you. They fought the same war, and they helped support us. So they have many of the similar struggles, and then some. They're coming to a different country to resettle, be safe. They're bringing their spouse. They're bringing their children, and they need a network. And so we're pairing them with veterans in the community when we're doing other things with them. So that's a new program that Combined Arms has started. It's operating now in Houston, and slowly but surely we will be up here in North Texas.
That's a really cool program. Mm-hmm. That's a really needed program, honestly. I never even thought about doing something like that, but that's huge. That's a huge deal, because I know like when our interpreter came back, we had two Terps that came back, one from our first deployment, one from my second deployment, because we were in some really nasty areas, mm-hmm. and they their face was known in those nasty areas, and you can't just leave them. You can't leave them anywhere in the country after they've been in some of the nastier areas. There's certain places in Afghanistan, like I tell people all the time, like when my unit was in an area before I deployed with them, in this place called Nuristan. And in Nuristan, they have a particular language that they speak there, and it's secret. And it's been secret for decades or not, I mean, centuries really, right? And so if you teach it to anyone, or if you speak it for someone to understand what they're saying too, like if you interpret, right, it's immediately punishable by death.
So think about that. Death. Of all of the things our combat veterans experienced over there, and that component that they have, and then fleeing their home country because they're no longer welcome, coming to ours, and we just Combined Arms saw the need and what can be done, because yes, there are the programs who are receiving them once they're here, but it's for a short amount of time. So how can we keep serving them once they're here in their community, making sure they're just as successful as we want our veterans to be when they transition out, so that they are positive contributors to our society, and that they have a network, and their spouse has opportunities, and their children have opportunities.
That's smart. It's a cool program. It's super neat. I've never even thought in a million years that an organization would do a program like that. So I commend you. I commend TVN for that.
I'm just here plugging it. It was somebody else's grand idea in our organization, but it has been a very well received idea in the Houston area. So again, they're modeling that program down there, and then we're looking to duplicate it in North Texas, and then so on and so forth throughout the state.
Yeah, because unless you've actually like been in like combat situations, like a lot of, because honestly, let's just be honest, okay, not everyone that's in the military is in some sort of combat, even if they're deployed, okay? It's 1% of the 1%, right? And nowadays it's like 4% maybe, because we make cooks like get on guns and stuff, okay? But if you've ever been in a combat situation, like a nasty combat situation, you know that those interpreters and those locals that have worked for you for the entire time that you were deployed, they almost become like family. I mean, obviously some of them turn on us because they get paid the right price, okay? Correct. But most of the interpreters do not, because they get so heavily ingrained in our operations and kind of who we are and who we are as people, and we get to relate on a human level, and we get to talk about our families, and we get to exchange, we get to talk stories about our kids. Like, I mean, like it's a whole different ball game.
And think about, they don't have the VA at all.
Oh, no. They don't have anything.
They don't have a healthcare system to back them. They're not eligible to apply for any disability ratings, even though they may have the same hearing loss that you have, or a TBI, and could use some brain treatment. You know, so we, with that new program, are reaching out to our existing veteran serving organizations, being like, hey, are y'all open to now serving this new population that we've identified? And so we had a big survey go out. Would you currently accept this new veteran type, you know, in your program, or for future grants that you apply for? Are you open to including that in eligibility? So it's something new. And so again, Combined Arms looking at that holistically. Texas Veterans Network, we're tracking how many reach out to us, and we'll still do the intake teams. We'll still do the Googling for them, you know, because it's so new that there's not much out there yet, right? Not yet, but they're still going to help them Google, because this is all new.
Yeah. What a great idea. All right, so let's we're running out of time. So let's kind of talk about I guess, well, we kind of already talked about best ways to get connected. So what any final words? Let's go with that.
Final words is the buzzwords is TVN, Texas Veterans Network. That's the brand we're trying to get out there. That's the program that actually connects the veterans, their family members, to the resources to other resources, organizations to each other, collaboration on anything. So Texas Veterans Network is that program, is that place. And then if anybody wants to become a community connector and have access to our app, y'all will reach out to me. Can I give my email address?
You probably don't want to.
Okay. I
will link the website down below, and then they'll be able to get a hold of you.
And
from
my
there.
information is on the website.
Okay,
too,
there you
as
go.
a staff
So
member.
there you go.
But yeah,
you just never know who's going to email you straight from YouTube. So yeah,
true.
You should probably not do that.
No worries.
Yeah, let them go through the official channels. As far as internal, they can get a hold of me. So
definitely.
If they're VA, you can get a hold of me. I'm Michael.Buchanan, and you'll find me on the address book. Anyways, so yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, was it fun?
It was fun.
Super fun, right? I know. I wish more people would actually come onto the show. Yeah, I'm looking into that camera.
Come on, guys. It's not that bad.
It's really not that bad. I don't bite. I promise. I swear. I mean, not a lot. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, Megan Heil.
Thank you.
See, I said it right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on. I really do appreciate it. Listen, please go to, if you're on YouTube and you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. And if you want to find us on Facebook, we're on there, and Twitter and Instagram, and I mean, pretty much every social media you can think of. So if you're not following us, please do, and please like and follow. That's it. That's all I got for you. And just remember, no matter how bad things seem to be, just remember, Charlie Mike. I'm going to get it one day.
One day.
One day. At least I got something left.